Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving deep into a geopolitical storm that has reshaped the artificial intelligence landscape overnight. You know how it goes. National security concerns, export controls, and the sudden firing of entire tech giants from government contracts. But what happened when former President Donald Trump decided to dismiss those very concerns in his latest interview? The answer is more complex than you think. It involves a power play between Washington, Silicon Valley, and the highest stakes in modern history. Who owns the future of human cognition? We are going to break down exactly why Fable 5 and Mythos 5 went offline, why Dario Amodei was sidelined for Tom Brown, and what this sudden pivot means for every single one of you watching. If you want to understand the real mechanics behind these headlines, stick around because the story is just getting started. Let's start with the moment everything changed. On June 12, 2026, the Trump administration issued an export control directive that sent shockwaves through the tech industry. The target, Anthropic and its flagship models, Fable 5 and Mythos 5. The stated reason was serious national security concerns regarding foreign access to these advanced systems. But here is where it gets interesting. This wasn't just a standard regulatory hurdle. This was a direct order compelling Anthropic to take its latest models entirely offline. No more cloud access for anyone, whether they are inside the United States or sitting in a server farm overseas. The administration argued that unconditional military deployment of AI models posed too great a risk, and they were right to be worried about data sovereignty. However, the move was drastic enough that it threatened to cripple one of the most promising research labs in the world. By forcing Anthropic to disable access globally, the White House effectively put a pause button on the most cutting-edge safety research currently available. It sent a clear message. If your technology cannot be fully controlled by the state, you are not allowed to operate at the highest level. This was the opening move in a much larger game of chess involving the control of the next generation of intelligence. While the models were being locked down behind digital firewalls, something else was happening inside the boardroom that changed the trajectory of the entire situation. For years, the narrative had been driven by CEO Dario Amodei and his vision for constitutional AI. But after the directive hit, the dynamic shifted overnight. According to sources familiar with the matter, the administration no longer needed to deal with Amodei in high-stakes meetings about re-releasing the Claude Fable 5 model. Why? Because he had been replaced. Tom Brown, Anthropic's co-founder and a legendary figure in machine learning research known for his work on large language models from the very beginning, stepped into the chair. This wasn't just a personnel change. It was a strategic reorientation. Amodei represented the public-facing safety ideology that clashed with the administration's hardline security stance. Brown, conversely, brought a different flavor of expertise, one rooted in deep technical capability and perhaps more palatable to the new leadership team. The message from Washington was clear. They wanted someone who could navigate the gray areas between unrestricted innovation and total state control without making enemies along the way. This shift in power dynamics turned what looked like a regulatory crackdown into an internal restructuring that would define Anthropic's next 5 years. Now let's address the elephant in the room regarding Trump's latest interview. You might have noticed headlines suggesting that national security concerns were being dismissed or downplayed. But look closer at what actually happened. The administration didn't dismiss the risks. They simply changed the calculus on how those risks were managed. When Trump spoke about easing these concerns, he wasn't saying Fable 5 was suddenly safe for everyone to use in a coffee shop without safeguards. He was referring to the specific friction between Anthropic's original safety protocols and the government's desire for unconditional access. By replacing Amodei with Brown and implementing strict export controls, the administration found a middle ground that allowed them to proceed without what they viewed as ideological roadblocks. The concerns were not ignored. They were operationalized into a new set of rules. The directive compelled Anthropic to block foreign nationals from using the models, effectively creating a digital border around their most powerful tools. This was a pragmatic solution in the eyes of the administration. Keep the technology within trusted boundaries rather than letting it roam free under a framework that prioritized global accessibility over national dominance. It was a classic trade-off where security became the primary currency, and the result was a more compliant but less globally integrated version of Anthropic's future products. So what does this mean for us? For the developers building local systems like yours or mine, it reinforces the value of localized, privacy-first infrastructure. When global giants are forced to go offline due to export controls, the demand for robust, on-premise solutions skyrockets. You aren't just avoiding data leaks anymore. You are ensuring your system remains operational when the cloud is restricted by geopolitics. The rise of models like Fable 5 shows that the technology is ready, but the distribution channels are now tightly controlled. If you are planning a smart home or enterprise deployment, the lesson is clear. Do not rely solely on public APIs for mission-critical functions. Build your own localized instances where possible, as we discussed earlier with your hardware requirements. The industry is moving toward a fragmented landscape where access to advanced AI depends less on your subscription and more on your location and your political alignment. By understanding these shifts now, you position yourself ahead of the curve, ensuring that when the next wave of restrictions hits, you have a system that keeps running regardless of who holds the keys in Washington or Silicon Valley. We've walked through the mechanics of why Anthropic went offline, how Tom Brown took over from Dario Amodei, and what Trump's dismissal of certain concerns actually implies for the future of AI governance. The bottom line is that national security has become the defining factor in who gets to use the most powerful models on Earth. Whether you are building a smart home or running an enterprise server, understanding these shifts is crucial for long-term stability. If you found this breakdown helpful and want more deep dives into how technology intersects with global policy, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to stay informed. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think localized AI is the only way forward, or will centralized control eventually prevail? Let's discuss it there, and I'll see you in the next video.